for our radios. Starting here on the table, we have everything that is included with our kit. So from the left here, we have our server radio. This one will have an Ethernet cord. And you will also be able to tell that it is a server radio. On the side, we have a label, and it will say server or client. Here we have our client radio. This one will have a Ethernet connection as well as a 6-pin connector cable. And again, on the side, it will say client on our label. Then we have our manual, which will also include a quick guide for you to reference during installation. We have our 2 antennas, one for the server, one for the client. Our power over Ethernet or PoE injector. The power cord for that PoE injector, as well as our Cat5 cable that we will be connecting up. Then over here, I have a laptop that I'll be connecting up to today. And then we have our drill, just to be able to mount our client radio to the display structure, our hardware, and then our flathead screwdriver, which we will be using to be able to open up the enclosures for both of our radios. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the installation of the server side of the radio. First thing is we're going to attach our antenna to the radio enclosure. So you can see on the back, on the top, we should have this connection. We can just go ahead and twist this on. And this would get done after it has been mounted to your structure. Make sure that you're within 1,500 feet of the display and no closer than 20 feet from the client radio. Also, when mounting, make sure that this has a 360-degree free angle around it and the antenna is pointing straight up. For this video, we'll just be setting it on the table here for the installation. I'm going to go ahead and set that down here. And then we're going to move on to connecting our power over Ethernet injector. You're going to see we have a drawing on the top of the power over Ethernet injector where our power will come in up here. Our network or Cat5 cable will be connecting here, and then our radio will be connecting over here on this side. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and plug in my power cord. And then I'm going to plug my injector into the wall outlet. Then I have my network cable here that I'm going to use. This is just a Cat5e cable. I'm going to connect that into the data in port on the PoE. And the other end you would be connecting to your network if you need internet access for your display. Otherwise, you are free, you can plug it into your laptop or the computer on site. So today I'm going to plug it into my laptop. Alright, now we have our network connected and our power connected. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to open up the server radio so that you can see what the LEDs inside will do. To open it, you'll just use a flathead screwdriver, turn it, and you can now see inside of the server radio. So this is just to show you what the radio will do when it is connected to our injector. Before you connect up your cables, make sure that you are connecting your network cable to the data in and your server radio to the PoE side. If these are reversed, you could cause damage to your network equipment because this side is actually also outputting power and
supplying power to our server radio,
as well as carrying the signal. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it in, and we see that we're getting some LEDs on our port, and we should be getting some LEDs showing down there. So you'll see, it'll take a minute. Once this starts to boot up, you'll be able to see these LEDs on the inside the server radio, and that will indicate that we're getting signal and we're getting power to the radio itself. Now, if this is mounted on a building, you wouldn't be able to see this at the same time, but this is just letting you know that the LEDs inside will light up, and you'll be able to verify that once everything is up and running. And that is all for the server side of the installation. So next, we will move over to the display, and we will install the client radio and get that up and running. All right, so now we're at the display. We're going to be installing our client radio to the structure. We should be mounting this in between the display if possible, or somewhere on the structure by the display, so that the antenna can have 360 degrees around it free. Sometimes you may need to mount it on the side of the display itself, the cabinet. If you do that, please make sure that you have the holes sealed so that there's no water or condensation that's getting into the display. So for here, we're going to mount it right here behind our display. So I'm going to hold it in place and drill. Alright, so I got my top one. I'm going to go ahead and come down here and get my bottom one screwed in. And there are 5 holes on the client radio enclosure. You really only need to put in 2 screws, depending on your location. You're welcome to put in more if needed, but it does only need the 2. When mounting, you'll notice that I have my cable grommet down on the bottom. Make sure that that is facing the bottom and that our antenna location is at the top. Next, once I have it mounted to the structure, I'm going to go ahead and put on my antenna. And that's the same as the server. You'll just go ahead and screw it on. And then you can see at the top I have that open area so that my server can talk to my client radio. Now we're going to connect it to the quick connect on the back of the display, which is right here. This we are doing is a GS6 display. Depending on what display you are working on, you may or may not have this Ethernet port on your quick connect. If you are working on an AF3200, an AF3400, or an AF3700, you will need an extra adapter to be able to make this connection to the quick connect. So please reference the provided KB article for that information on how to attach that. So here we are going in, we have our Ethernet and we have a 6-pin adapter cable. We're going to plug our 6-pin into our aux port on the quick connect, and you just press it in and then twist this to lock it in place. Now we have it secured. Make sure that it is secured. Now we're going to connect our Ethernet end, and that we're just going to plug it in same way, and then take this and twist it on there to lock it in place. And we now have our client radio installed at the display. Okay, so now that we have it mounted on the structure, we're going to go ahead and open up the enclosure. We're going to power up the display so that you can see and verify that the client radio is getting power and that we're getting signal, and we should be good to go. So again, you're just going to use your flathead screwdriver and just unlock the enclosure and just swing that door open. We'll be looking over here for our LEDs to light up once I power up the display. So this process will take a little bit. I do have green LEDs on our Ethernet port, so I know that we're getting some power. But what we're going to be looking at is right here, we're going to see those 3 LEDs. We should see those come on and start to flash to let us know that we have signal and we're ready to go. And there we go. So now we know we have power, we have signal, and our client radio is fully installed. At this point, you're good to go ahead and close the enclosure, making sure that you lock it tight so that we aren't getting any kind of water or any kind of condensation inside of the enclosure box. And there we have it. That concludes the installation of our EBR radios.